Okay, good day, everybody. Thank
Okay,
you for
good day,
joining us
everybody. Thank you for joining us
on yet another episode of the
on yet
podcast.
another
And
episode of the podcast. And
I have a phenomenal guest with me here
I have
today,
a phenomenal guest with me here today.
and is going to be sharing on something very interesting with us today on
I'm
the
going to be
podcast.
sharing on something very interesting with us today on the podcast.
So today I have Mr. Anthony Osita Onah,
So today I have
and
Mr. Anthony Osita Onah, and
he is the CEO of CTEX Agro Sculptures,
he is
and he
the
is
CEO
a
of
farmer,
CTEX Agro Sculptures, and he is
and
now a farmer. And
he's going to be sharing his expertise with us along the lines of
he's going to be
fabrication.
sharing his expertise with us along the lines of fabrication.
And so I would like him to sort of
And
just
so
introduce
I would like him to sort of just introduce.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you. But can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes, I can.
Okay. Should I proceed?
Of course. Just tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Um,
Yes.
I guess the network is shaking a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Anthony Osita, Onah Anthony Osita, and I'm a native of Enugu State. Uh, I am based in Abeokuta, where I practice agriculture and arts. So I would say I'm the team lead for Metallic Integrated Technology, MIT, and also Metallic Care Foundation. My Eastern handle is the Ositex underscore agro sculptor. So the Ositex agro sculptor is not a company. It's not a company. Not a company. Metallic
Okay.
Integrated Technology is the limited company.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm happy to be here today. I've gone through the channel and I've also seen the wonderful work you're doing. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, and it's something that would encourage every young people to be part of, so that we get to share our stories and also encourage others who are in the struggle. The struggle of entrepreneurship is a lifetime thing, so it's not something you just feel like, oh, let me do my luck and see if it will work. You should be ready to dedicate time, resources, and effort. So it's a continuous assessment, So I would say close to entrepreneurs, young people are struggling in the race. It's not easy, but we thank God for the grace of strength. We keep pushing and we'll keep pushing. Yeah. So I'll leave this to the host so we could take it up from here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing about yourself.
Thank you so much for
So my very
sharing
first question to you.
about yourself.
So my very first question to you is: I know that you have a background in fine arts from Ahmadu Bello
So my very first
University,
from Ahmadu
and
Bello University, and
I know that you're into like sculpting in terms of
I know that you
artwork.
are into
So
like
can you share with
in
us
terms of artwork. So can you share with us?
so how you
So
transition from sculpting into farming.
how you transition from sculpting into farming.
Okay. Yes, you're right. I had my first degree in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, and during my undergraduates, I would say was one of the best moments of my life. Because there is this saying when that goes this way, that when you go through school, you also allow school go through you. That was the beginning of this race.
Okay.
It's all about entrepreneurship itself as a whole. So I was able to, I won't say, when you talk about transition, it's more like you left a particular stage and you move to another stage. For most people out there, most people feel I don't practice art anymore. I still practice art. I'm still an artist. The fact is, I still do it. And now I've been able to find a way to marry art and agriculture. That's the unique thing about it.
Okay.
So 2010, I was admitted to study fine art in Ahmadu Bello University because I applied for it. It's been my passion. It's something I've been doing for a long time. And one unique thing about art is it's a tool for expression. Art is a tool for expression. So that's an advantage I had. So I had that tool to express. It could be through sculpture, it could be through painting, literature, ceramics, and there are different forms of expression in art. So the fact is that
Okay.
I understood the primary goal of art, which was for me to express myself. Then I could easily pass message and I can inform my neighbor about maybe danger, about climate change, about insecurity, about food sustainability, and all of that. So, uh, being able to go through the art school, opened my eyes to the fact that I could express myself in any stage at any point in time. So, moving to agriculture was another thing on its own. So, the fact was, I had the ability to express myself, and I'm also creative in my field. So venturing into agriculture wasn't difficult because I was able to find a platform, and this was my own story. In fine arts in Ahmadu Bello University, when you get to your 200 level second semester, you get to apply to specialize in a section. We have about 4 sessions in the department. As of
Okay.
the year when I graduated, it was still the same, but I don't know for now, maybe it have changed. But at that time, we used to have art education, we have art history, we have sculpture and painting. So it was advisable you get to specialize where you have more strengths. And even before I gained admission, I've always loved sculpture. I actually had an apprenticeship session then before even gaining admission in Ahmadu Bello University. So I'd served somebody where I learned how to sculpt. So I wanted to do sculpture because in my mind at that time, sculpture was more like the hardest part of art. Some people will call it like the backbone of art. So sculpture was more like the hardest part. So I wanted to do something that was more challenging, something that would take me out of the box. So I applied for sculpture and I got admitted to do sculpture from my 300 level to 400 level before I graduated. So specializing in sculpture, I also had more interest in fabrication, which was the metal sculpture. Because when you come down to sculpture, you get to do modeling and casting, carving, both wood carving, stone carving, and you also get to do metal fabrication. So graduating from school, I had different experiences with different kind of crafts, but when I had to relocate back to Ibadan, you know, about 2 years after NYC, it was more like I was starting life from the scratch because I had a difficult experience after NYC. So I had to move down to the West. I served in Nasarawa State, so I moved back to the West. So I went back to Ibadan. I had to start from square one. So all I had at that, because I had to analyze the environment and to understand what do people really want and what can I offer. So when I was in the north, I was in Lafia. I was more into textile. I did tie and dye, I did batik because the people over there they embrace more of textile than sculpture. So I had to give them what they want because I needed to survive. So moving back to Ibadan, I discovered that we have so many interesting real estate, and one part of real estate is the interior. So I moved into interior, and one part of interior was to start fabricating metal furnitures, metal wardrobes, and all of that. So I had to now move back to my fabrication. But this time around, the fabrication I was now doing wasn't the irregular forms, because when you're doing sculpture, like you produce a sculpture of a bull, or you produce I'm sure if you're familiar with some sculptures, I'll make reference to Dotugbola sculpture. You see some of those gigantic sculptures and metal sculptures and all of that. So they are irregular forms, you know. So I had to move from irregular sculpture to regular sculptures, which were furnitures. So because I needed to survive, I saw that we had more carpenters making it in Ibadan. We had more, let's say, those in the real estates. They were pumping money into the real estate, and new sites were developing. So I discovered that okay, I could make ends meet. So I was blending painting, building with fabricating furnitures. So I started producing
Wow.
furniture. Then I was now blending artistic irregular forms with the contemporary regular form. So that alone also made my kind of furniture more unique comparing to what you would see along maybe the roadside or from other fabricators, you understand. So during that process, when I was
Yeah.
doing the furniture, I was able to still build my mindsets and also relearn. I was able to advance my skill, where when you are cutting, when you're doing the irregular form, you don't look at perfect line. You don't look at if your square, if you want to construct a square, if it's perfect, you don't really look into that. But when you're doing the regular thing, you pay more attention to forms, you pay more attention to
Yeah.
lines, you make sure detail and finishing. In fact, finishing is your selling point. You understand? So over time, I was able to build that within myself. So it became part of me. I could easily put up a furniture. I could easily put up a chair, a table, using metal. Then I use maybe a wooden balance for it, or I get to contract um, a tailor to help me do the foam thing and all of that. You understand? So that was how it was going until 20, 2022. Yes, 2023. I got to apply for um, an agricultural internship, yeah, to learn more about hydroponics farming at the Soilless Farm Lab in partnership with Mastercard Foundation. So that was where the marriage between art and agriculture came in. So I actually had this thing for agric. I love nature, I love nature, but the fact was that you know 5 years from now, if you tell me I'm in agriculture the way I'm in the system, I would just look at you as an enemy, honestly, because it was never in my drawing board. Honestly, I used to have a board in my room then, back then in Ibadan. It was never, I call the board a vision board. It was never in vision board anything real estate. I had things like logistics. These were things that I actually already started in my first brand, which was Osita World Innovation. Agriculture was not really in that board, but a friend of mine reached out to me, and we discussed. We had more like a social meeting, and we talked about agriculture. So he told me entrepreneurship, you can apply for this, and it's something you would like, And I'm an Enactus alumni. Being an Enactus alumni, the fact is, anybody who's an Enactus alumni um, would know that you would have this insight ability to want to solve problem anywhere you find yourself. You would want to see opportunity almost in everything. So I looked at it again and I applied for it and I attended, and getting to Soilless Farm Lab, that was where the story changed. That was where everything changed, and I think I was able to see more of the vision. I was able to see more of myself blending these two sectors together, and I was able to find a balance. So what I mean is that when you talk about the transition, I didn't leave art. I still practice art, and I'm going to mention something along the line as we get to talk, because there is a place for art in agriculture. There is a place where I believe, whatever sector you find yourself, you would have a place in agriculture. I believe agriculture is an
100%.
environment of culture. You get, agriculture is an environment of culture. So if you like call yourself a pilot, you must find your parts. You just need to look into it. You see your part. So don't believe that, okay, because I didn't study agriculture, but I think I'm doing well to an extent, and we still have more to do. We need to tell more story. At the beginning I said, because I'm an artist, I have ability to express myself through different medium. So if I need to talk
Yeah.
about the problems in agriculture, when you talk about food sustainability, I should be able to express myself through artifacts. That's my place in agriculture. We need people who keep telling the stories. We need people who keep advocating that we need to do more, we need to do better, because the fact is our numbers are increasing. Almost every day, people give birth. And I when last did we add census in Nigeria to actually know the number of Nigerians we have? So the number is increasing. I believe we are more than 220 million Nigerians, and they all need to feed every day. So we are really not doing much, because most of the biggest farmers we have in Nigeria, they still depend on season. They need to grow their vegetables, they need to produce food seasonally. That's why currently, as even pepper is expensive right now, because most people don't have produce in the market, because most are depending when rain will fall. So when rain falls, they get to do their thing, they do the needful, and they get to plant or sow in the next 3 months. Then you see that vegetable will flood the markets. You understand? So for how long are we going to continue like that? You get the point. So I think my role in the sector is to talk, is to keep advocating, is to keep using my medium to express. And where I was able to find my balance was to create what I call farm arts. Yeah, we created what we call farm arts from Metallic Care Foundation. And I will tell you for free that in the next 5 years from now, in the year 2030, we should be launching the first um, art museum, the first art museum in Africa. We don't even have any in Nigeria. We don't have farm museum, rather, sorry, farm museum. Yeah, we don't have a farm museum in Nigeria. We don't have a farm museum in Africa. And when you come down to Africa, one of the most important resources that we have is the agriculture. If, for example, in Nigeria, the most important resource that we have is agriculture. So I believe we have war museum, where you could go to those museum and you will see artifacts that would give you a reflection of our history. But in the sector of agriculture, we don't really have that.
Yeah.
So in the next 5 years, we should be able to say, or 10
Yeah.
years from now, we should be able to say, when we go to this location, we could have a reflection of what, there was a time when granite was the big deal, when they used to build a pyramid with granite and all of that. These
Yeah.
are
As a cash crop.
visuals that we
Yeah.
need
The
in
cash
this
crop.
generation to tell our story, because people need to reflect and understand that yes, we want to go into tech, we want to go into um, the global space and all of that, but we don't need to forget where we're coming from. We have a background, which is agriculture. There was a time when our currency was bigger than dollar. What made it possible was agriculture. It wasn't oil in the first place. You understand? So we need a place where you go to, you have a reflection to remember how was it possible for cocoa in the West to thrive? You know, how was it possible that
Mm.
cocoa could give people scholarships to travel abroad? How many of us know the history of the cocoa house in Ibadan? Most people don't know. Most people don't understand that the cocoa house you have there in Ibadan is actually the second one. That's not the first cocoa house, that you have in Ibadan. Most people don't know history, and they don't understand the background. So that's actually the problem. So you see that every artist have a role to play. We all have a role to play. So we have a team of curators who are already working on this. We have team of artists who are also working on this. We have art historians who are working on this project. It's going to be it's going to transform the system to an extent, because we want a place where we see history. We understand that hunting was not just a sport, it was our culture for we to hunt animal. Livestock production
Wow.
was not, most people make it look as if the West brought this to us. In fact, I can tell you of a truth that the hydroponic system of farming that we see as modern farming today, when you go back to history, you discover that we have a background around this, but we've not asked questions. We've not tried to visit the villages to understand how it all started. There was a time, in the advanced agriculture now, we want to invite AI, we want to invite robots to replace farmers, right? But we fail to understand that some of these things are culture. When you bring in AI, when you bring in the robots and all of that, it's also somebody's business. But we should also understand that um, when our forefathers used to cultivate, or they get to farm with hoe and cutlass and all those
So I'm guessing that there's a bit of network glitch, but I like how he has been able to just sort of help us see the convergence between agriculture and art. That's purely just so beautiful to just hear him express that. I think that we sort of agree on a couple of things, which is regardless of where you are, in terms of like the work that you do, there is a place for you within agriculture. There's something that you can possibly do within agriculture that allows you be resourceful in the sector. And it's just amazing to just hear him sort of confirm, those beliefs that I have about agriculture, that regardless of what you studied, your expertise, your experience, there's a place for you in agriculture. That's just amazing. And just hearing him talking about the first farm museum, that's another game changer. That's another game changer. I like how as I do this podcast and I bring on different guests, I like how lots of the guests are very future forward thinking. I like how they are envisioning how they can tell the African story better. I like how they are investing their time, their energy, their resources, their expertise on just seeing how we can embody and shine our lights as Africans and just helping us understand our history. Just hearing him talking about like the cocoa house in Ibadan that's there happens not to be the very first cocoa house. I didn't know that. Like every single time I'm having a guest on this platform, for me it's also a learning experience. It's also a learning experience for me. And I look forward to just having him and his team be able to bring that, to bear. Welcome back, Mr. Osita. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
you hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was just saying that whilst you're
Oh,
away, I was saying that we share similar thoughts because I am of the opinion that regardless of the
mhm.
profession that you're in, your skill set, your expertise, there's something that you
Yeah.
can always do within the agricultural sector. There's something for you. And just hearing you just re-echo that, it's just amazing. And I love the idea of you and your team working on having to create like a agricultural museum. That's beautiful. I've never really heard that before. And I was saying that I look forward to seeing that come to light. It's just going to be really amazing to see that that's going to come out of Nigeria to Africa. And that's really, really beautiful. It's not only, people shouldn't only travel for tourism because of like, oh, the natural resources and things. People should travel to come and see things like this that you're about to sort of create. So I look forward to that. And just also the fact that it's also going to help us like preserve our history, tell our story better. That's really amazing.
Definitely.
So my next question to
Yeah,
you is,
definitely.
from your own experience, what would you say uh, is the role? Okay, let's just put it this way. What would you say is the role of, that fabrication sort of plays in reducing environmental footprints in farming? And, how can farmers sort of adopt these things? Because some of them, they're not used to, setting up regular structures for their farming. They're just very used to open land farming. So what would you say is the role of innovation in all this?
The system can new to some people. Um, we go to the extent of educating people so they can understand this. The thing is that when you're bringing
Mhm.
change to a system, it's important you inform them. It's important you keep teaching
Yes.
and let them ask more questions. And you also help them see the
Yeah.
advantages. But the system is expensive. Setting up a greenhouse is not cheap. But the truth is, like just what they say, um, better better soup na money can, you understand? It's
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
expensive. In fact, it is of good advantage that you are working in a clean environment. That's one thing a greenhouse will give to you. Your environment is neat. The fact that you can control the environment is important.
Mhm.
You know, to an extent, you can combat um, pests and diseases to an extent, comparing to the open field. I'm not saying hydroponics or greenhouse farming is replacing the traditional form of farming. It's not. But the fact is that innovation is important for we to introduce innovation to whatever we do, because the fact is when you look at the numbers are increasing, like I said. And we have about 200 and something million, they will eat this night. But I can tell you that, let's say over 30 something million would not see what to eat tonight. It's just reality,
Mm.
in Nigeria. So the fact is, we need to get to a level where food will not be a problem for an average man. The average man will not see what to
Mm.
eat as a problem. So that's the stage,
As
that's when
luxury.
you know that yes, food, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You feel that you feel around the system that okay, at least things are difficult, but at least we can eat. We can sustain
Mm.
ourselves to an extent. So, fabrication is somehow safe.
Exactly.
It's somehow easier. It's somehow easier to control. So that's the advantage. Another thing again is that even in fabricating or setting up greenhouses, we need more people in that sector. You understand? I know so many people and fabricators will look for where they have cash flow. You get, farmers might not really have that amount to pay for a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Sometimes we advise them to go into cluster farming. Some go into
Mm.
cooperative, some go into, they go to get loan, and in order for them to, be able to afford to set up a greenhouse and all of that. So one of the things we are also trying for our head is to see how we could create, what we're creating is an enabling environment for farmers. That's what we're creating. And we're also trying, we know soon and very soon we'll get to a level where farmers, an average farmer will be able to afford a greenhouse. The economy is not really helping because cost of materials are expensive. I can tell you that aside from, okay, we try to even patronize um, companies that produce the galvanized pipe that we use in Nigeria. We try to do that. But you see, when it comes to the
Okay,
clouding
locally
materials,
sourced.
the all of that, they get to import them. You understand? So imagine when we have companies in Nigeria producing um, these materials, we feel it's going to be better to an extent. Maybe at the beginning stage, it might look the same, but look at how much we buy Solarix or the UV nylon from China. How much is it sold in China? When you look at the dollar rates, the margin is too much because they get to pay from, you pay for logistics, you pay for both international and even national or locally. You get, so when you look at all these fees, they accumulate to why these things are expensive. So and I think it's not something I could do by myself, but the system will need to help us. But at this stage, we advise farmers to engage in cluster farming. Greenhouse farming
Okay.
would ensure that, or using this greenhouse farming would ensure that you have more yield during production, and you have a control system and an enabling environment. You understand? So if greenhouse farming would give you that, why not go for it? Yeah, why not go for it?
Great
But
sense.
the only
Yeah.
thing is, when you know you cannot
Okay.
afford it, doesn't mean you should abandon the traditional farming. Don't abandon the traditional farming. There are other means we also um, suggest and advise farmers to use. Like when you look at geoponics, when you set up
Yeah.
an irrigation system in your open field, you can also do well. The only thing is that I know you're going to battle with pests, but for the meantime, it's good for you to go through that system. Maybe you save up and you'll be able to meet up with setting up a greenhouse. So the fabrication system is growing as well, and we intend to train more youths. So far, we've trained more than 50 youths in fabricating greenhouses and in both genders.
Oh,
So
that's
we
good.
would still keep doing
Wow.
that. We keep doing that. And our training, we do our training for
Fantastic.
free, but we have a system. Yeah, we have a
Oh, wow.
system in doing that. We do our trainings for free, but what we do is that we
In
train mostly
Ibadan?
youth.
In Ibadan?
So in Abeokuta, we do that in
Oh,
Abeokuta, at the
sorry,
Soles Farm Lab.
Abiyokuta. Okay.
Abeokuta, yes, yes,
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So in this conversation, there's a lot of talks around training, training, training. And even when I
okay,
went through your bio, there was something very interesting that I saw, and is the fact that you have been involved in training, inmates on smart
yeah,
agriculture. First of all, I feel like that's what's so heartwarming, because I feel like those are the guys that are, I would say, in so many ways relegated. Like in society, we don't necessarily think about them. Even the ones
yeah,
that, they got there innocently, or, we don't necessarily think about them. But
yeah,
just hearing that you have like a social impact project that tends to sort of
yeah.
cater to training inmates. At least you're trying to do something that when they come out, they are sort of useful to the society. So my question to you is, as someone involved in training of inmates on climate smart agriculture, what unique challenges have you faced? That's part A of the
Okay,
question. Then part B is that, um, in your own thought, what do you think that agriculture, can it serve as a powerful tool for social impact, especially in helping marginalized communities?
okay. I would say for now, I don't know for tomorrow, but I would say for now, I think agriculture is still the most powerful tool for social development. Yeah, because the fact is that
Mm,
if you are not producing for others to eat, you can still produce for yourself to eat. So you discover that you're solving so many problems directly and indirectly. When we
mm,
started metallic
yeah.
integrated technology 2 years ago, the idea was we were going to have a social responsibility, even as a limited company, you know, and we came up with
Mm,
we need to transfer this knowledge. We understand how this thing works. We've done this over and over again.
yeah.
We've worked with people, and
Yeah.
I think it's high time we begin to tell our story. Then we begin to imagine, look how difficult the country is to an extent. It's not easy, to make money and
Yeah.
also say you get to feed yourself. Then you also have other responsibilities. So I begin to look at, what about those who are vulnerable? What happens to them?
Mm,
Like I said, about
yeah.
33 million Nigerians will not see food to eat this night. It's just the fact, it's just the truth. When you go into the streets, you see reality. And when there is no food, look at the rate of crime. It keeps increasing. You get. So when you go to some of these prison facility, before now, I've actually been involved in prison outreach. I've been doing that through
Mm,
CYON in Ibadan, and I've also had personal outreach I've done, and we've done some trainings too, but they were more like a personal thing. Then those trainings I was doing then were more like textile, art, and all of that crafts. But looking at what agriculture could provide, aside from looking into the business, the
yeah.
fact is you are also solving the problem in food sustainability or food insecurity. So when you're
Yeah.
contributing to this same chain,
Yeah.
it's important for it to work together. You understand? So we kept on doing our
Yeah.
research, and we kept on looking at countries where things like this has been done. So we challenged ourselves to see if we can really make this thing work. I saw a video from Portugal where they get to train their inmates in food production. So they produce vegetable using the hydroponic system. It was beautiful. I saw the video, and we've seen what Burkina Faso is doing right now. and it's something that we believe we can also do the same. Most of the inmates we have today are youth. That's the shocking thing. Most of them from the record are
Yeah.
youths. You know,
Yeah.
here in Abeokuta, where we
Yes.
we facilitated, we've trained youths there in prison, at Oba facility, the Nigeria Correctional Service. You know, getting to meet with these people, honestly speaking, it's amazing. I would encourage you to visit, because we set up a farm there inside the facility,
Okay.
and they practice. You know, at the beginning stage after their training, we get to visit them every week to get their reports, because we made them understand that
Wow.
agriculture is a it's it's a job. It's something you can see as a career. You know, so if whatever
Yes.
the main thing is that they're already there. So how you get there is not even the problem anymore. You're there, and as long as you're there, how have you been able to rebrand yourself? You understand? How have you been able to
Mm.
see people need to see value
Yeah.
in themselves? And this is what agriculture can provide. And this is
Yeah.
what agriculture has been doing over the years. It's just that most of us, we don't see ourselves in it.
Yeah.
We still have this ideology that old people do farming or old people do agriculture. We still have this
Yeah.
mentality that it's a
Yeah.
dirty job. It's not something you should be proud of. In fact, today I am proud to call myself a prison farmer.
Mm.
I am proud to call myself a prison farmer because it's a continuous thing. We have more than 500 prison facilities in Nigeria. So the journey has just begun. And in Portugal, the
Yeah.
community, the prison, the community around where they do this food production in the prison facility, the vegetable that is being produced within the facility feeds the community, feeds about more than 60% of the community. So can we get to that level? Yes, we can get to that level. It might not be
Mm.
immediately, but we can. But you know, for them to start producing food, they would have learned the skill. They would have understand
Yes.
how the agronomy aspect works, how they get to fatigate, how they get to
Yes.
apply their basic nutrients, you know, using the irrigation, the drip irrigation system, and all of that is what we did inside the facility. Sorry, we
Mm.
were able to set up a 6 meter by
Sorry.
24 meter geoponic system inside the facility, and currently they transplanted habanero,
Wow.
so they are producing habanero currently. So in the next 2 months, we'll be looking at harvesting. You understand? So it's a process, and we
So
want them to
good.
understand the process. It's not just going there to
Yeah.
teach them the theoretical aspect of it. We did the practical thing. We were able to set up the tank, the scaffolder, and everything. The inputs for them to practice for the next one circle is provided. So when we examine the first circle, then we begin to introduce other crops like cucumber, we introduce watermelon, we introduce bell pepper. Then we'll start looking at expanding. You understand? Then aside from that, we're also looking at moving to other prison facility. You know, one of the challenges, you know, we talk about challenges is that
Mm.
one of the challenges we're having is the fact that most of this prison facility, you know, when you go to some of them, the capacity is supposed to be 800 and something capacity, but you have about almost 1,000 inmates. So the environment is not conducive. And you also
Good.
discover
Yeah.
that the setting of the prison facility, you know, it's there would always be trend, there will always be new ideas. So what we're going to encourage the government to also look into is to also flow with the trend, and we also keep advancing, um, and also increasing the space. We don't really have that much space for some facilities. where we could say, let's set up the
Oh, wow.
modern farming, yeah, the modern system inside the facility, because we
Mm,
can't take the image outside. We can only deal with them inside. So
yeah,
since we have barriers,
yeah.
so we need to work with the policy. So working with that policy, we also need the
Mm,
system, which is the government, to also look into provisions. And we the training we give, we the training we
mm,
we do is not limited to just hydroponics. Is not, because we've been able to evaluate some of, like I said, some
oh,
of
wow.
this facility with limited space, and we are also looking at introducing other forms of smart agriculture. We have smart agriculture in honey production. We have smart agriculture in fishery
Yeah,
aquaculture. We have smart agriculture in almost every sector in the value chain, when it comes to production of food.
mm,
So we begin to explore in this chain. And one of the advantage we have is that we have partners and volunteers who are also knowledgeable in different field in agriculture. So we bring in facilitators that could also talk to them, but we try not to just do the talking thing. It's important you do the practical, let them practice, let them produce honey and see that this thing is actually possible. And we also help them understand that it's achievable. Some of them will complain that, okay, once we leave this place, where do we fall back to? So this is what they need. I know of some organization who have gone to the extent of maybe introducing how to produce craft. I've done that before, tie and dye. They do wristband and things like that. But we have to be realistic. The average Nigerian is looking for what to eat. You understand? So they look for what is
yeah,
sustainable. Agriculture is sustainable. What they need is the push and the platform where we would say,
yeah.
we do not have much, but we want to be dedicated. We want to be serious to do this thing. We want to be part of those who will make change in the system. So we'll discover that over time,
Mm,
when
yeah.
some of these youths get to leave the facility, do they have where to fall back to? You understand? So this is what we're trying to do. We know it's not a day
Mm,
job, and we know it's not easy, because we're still in that stage where we're we're taking it step by step, and we know that by God's grace and with the wonderful team we have, we will get there. And I would also commend the Nigerian Correctional Service Oba facility. They have amazing warders. They have amazing staffs. In fact, the support was top notch. The fact that they had to, in fact, they educated us. We had an orientation session with them where they also made us understand how the system works. There was so much that I didn't really know about how the correctional service operates. We're able to learn that as well, to understand the rules. And also, we had psychologists get to work with us. It was amazing. It was a 3 days event when we had the training, and it's a continuous thing because we keep visiting. They take record on how they do their spraying, on how they do their fabrication. So when we go there, we don't just go to look at it. We can easily look at their record because we've been able to train them on how to take record. So when they look at the record, they can say, okay,
mm,
this plant is lacking this. This is what we need to apply. These are the basic
yeah.
nutrients we need to apply. So it's not been easy, but we know it's a step, and we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. Thank you.
Fantastic. But the work that you guys are doing is so commendable. Like so commendable. When I read that part
Thank
of it,
you.
I was like, oh my God, this guy is not only
Thank
just, creating, enabling himself, he's also thinking about some sort of like the marginalized people, specifically prisoners. Those are like the least people that we think about in society. But just hearing that you and your team are looking out for ways to also empower people like that is totally amazingly beautiful. So my very next question to you is, you've worked with the Enterprise for Youth in Agriculture, which is the IR project. So can you sort of share some of like your major takeaways from your experience and how that has sort of influenced your approach to farming and even advocacy?
Okay. The first thing I would say is that EYA, which is the Enterprise for Youth Agriculture, is a game changer. It's a game changer for me
Mm,
because I would say EYA was that platform that gave me balance, you know, because
mm,
before EYA, um, operating as Ositex World Innovation, I was I was just thinking about arts, just arts, and but I was looking for that platform that would give me balance. So being part of EYA was the game changer and was more like transforming the system, helping me to understand how far the journey is because the journey is still far. And when you know that the journey is still far, so
yeah,
you have the truth is you have so much time to explore. And when agriculture comes to play, like I said, for me, my new definition for agriculture is the environment of cultures. It helps me to understand that I have a
mm,
sense of belonging. Then Eya was also able to help me explore through the managerial aspects of entrepreneurship, not just agriculture. Because for you to
mm,
thrive, you need a team. Then as
yeah,
OCTEX World Innovation, it was a one-man army thing. I could just easily make decisions and just do my own thing, and I could have my own account and my accounts being 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 supervised by myself and all by myself. But this time around, after going through this experience, I came to understand that working as a team is the fastest vehicle you need to get to your destination as an entrepreneur. You need a
yeah.
team to make it work. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone.
Yeah,
We are talking right now. We are talking at this minute.
yeah.
We have team members in two different states setting up greenhouses for our clients.
Wow,
Okay,
wow.
we are talking, and we also have group of we have team members who are also facilitating and preparing and also working towards us achieving our goal for agrotourism, which is the farm museum I talked about. So we also have team
Yeah,
members who are a group of facilitators preparing to also train more people who are vulnerable. You understand? So building a structure is one thing. I would say, in fact, one of the key thing I I was able to grab from Aya. And when you visit, I would also say you should visit the Sodes Farm Lab. It's an
I
amazing
definitely.
environment.
I was just saying. I was saying to someone today that I would
Okay.
really love to visit Soilless Labs because I had
Yeah.
personally written to Mama Sam, and it's
Oh,
like I had written to him that I want to interview him, but I haven't gotten anywhere. So I was like, okay, I think I should visit the farm, and knowing
yeah,
fully
you should.
well that you are in
It's a good
Abeokuta as
thing.
well. So when I come out, I'll definitely let you know. I had that thought this week. I was like, I think I should visit.
Okay,
So
you're
yeah, I'll
welcome. You're
definitely do
welcome. You should visit. You should visit because we need to tell people more about what we do. We need to
yeah,
help people see that success is
yeah,
not just an overnight thing. You just because you see people spraying money out there, you feel it's easy. It's important we help people see the process. That's the truth. People
yeah,
need to see people need to see how it's done. That yes, people don't sleep in order to achieve this thing. Some people just feel that
yeah,
okay, maybe you're young and you're making money, but they forgot that you started from somewhere. There was this time when you were struggling. In fact, when you go through area, the work, the code in area is work. You must work. There is no how you come there and you don't work. You must be engaged in something. You will not go to Soles Farm Lab and you say you want to be idle. In fact, when you go there and you want to be idle, you know that something is out of it. Like you don't feel like there is life in you. Everybody there is working 247. You work so early, you wake up so early, you have to attend to your farm. We have about 730 greenhouses in there, and you have
Wow.
youths across Nigeria. In fact, by tomorrow,
Wow.
the new set
Yeah,
for
tomorrow I
quote,
saw from
yeah, will
Sam's
be
post.
tomorrow.
The
Yes,
new quote of 1,000.
we'll be receiving
1,000.
about 1,000 youths across Nigeria and West Africa.
Oh, yeah, I
You
saw the
know,
post
so,
on LinkedIn this evening. 1,000. That's
yes,
a lot.
yes, you need to. And we've trained about Soles Farm Lab has trained about 9,000 youths within the space of 2 3 years. Yeah, 2 years and
Oh my God. That's a
yeah.
lot.
So it's massive, and it's even going beyond
Yeah.
just those who come for air. Some of us
Mm.
are taking this to the grassroots. Soon
Yeah.
we'll be showcasing some communities we've visited or will be visiting. We've done an outreach in Jos in Plateau States, and we have
Wow.
so other states that we're looking at going to, because we need people to understand this thing. In fact, we are even going to the extent of um, taking this to the local level, where we can also have farmers who will train those in the villages in their native language. That's how far we're going. We've done one with youth from Enugu State, where we get to train the coast city farmers, where we get to educate people in hydroponics farming in Igbo language. So we can also replicate that in Yoruba, Hausa, and also Pidgin. The main thing is to have an understanding and transfer the knowledge, so people can be enlightened and people can understand how this thing works. Imagine us going to as far as the prison facility, and for those in the prison to understand how this thing works. So talk more of you who are out here. You understand? So it's a very beautiful thing. They're really doing an amazing job. And I will tell you, what you're seeing or what you come to see is just the beginning. There's so much, that are yet to be revealed to us. So we pray that God keeps giving us life, and we pray that we keep pushing, because it's not easy. Sometimes you go through challenges, but we don't give up. They say, "Who give up? Now you fuck up." So we don't give up.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for just sharing that with us. I think this will be my final question to you, which is, it will be a two-in-one question. So the very first one is, what would be your advice to any aspiring fabricator who wants to contribute into agriculture, but in a way um they're still unsure whether or not to proceed with agriculture, because like you mentioned earlier, it is not like the regular fabrication where you get to like get gigs all the time. What would be your advice to that aspiring fabricator that is still a bit dilly-dally on it? Then the second
Mm.
question, which is like the final question, is you on your own, as an individual, as an entrepreneur, looking ahead and you just envisioning, what do you think is like the role of art, creativity, and fabrication in the agricultural sector, and what's the possibility that that awaits uh, that?
Okay. I'll take the first question. Um, is as simple as saying integrity. For any fabricator out there, you feel you want to explore the agricultural sector to see how your craft could work, is integrity. That's just it. Because sorry, when you're dealing with um, climate change, the fact is there are different mechanisms and techniques and approaches you could use to set up greenhouses. whatever approach you want to use, the major goal is sustainability. Putting up a structure that is sustainable. You know, put up a structure where your clients will not call you tomorrow, knock on your door, and there are police officers waiting for you. You understand? Because people actually make this money, tirelessly to invest in this system. So they give you money to do this. The fact is, if you know that um, what you're doing, if you know that the funds that are available will not give you a good job, don't collect the job. That's one of the challenges we have amongst fabricators. Maybe because you want to um, make quick money and all of that. So you say yes to almost every job that comes. So you need to build integrity. You need to learn how to say no. You know, officially, the official way is to say no. You get, so you need to understand how you should be able to say no when you need to say no, because you can't just, it's just like this saying that it's not every rain that fall from the sky that will fall on your head, which means you mustn't collect every job, you mustn't do everything. So, but in order for you, the secret is, in order for you to be able to achieve that, you should create a cash flow system that helps you, that sustains you. Because sometimes the job might come, let's say once in 2 months or once in 6 months, maybe fabricating greenhouses. Because the fact is, it's expensive. So, in order for you to gain your balance, you can also explore other means in the value chain that helps you bring cash almost every week or almost every time. You can do that even in fabrication. You could do furnitures. You understand? Furnitures to an extent can give you cash flow. There are some links. You just need to understand, it's good to also have mentors too. For me, I have this advantage because I have mentors. I have people who have served over the years, and there's a system where we could do production and we supply. We have those who take supplies almost every week. You understand? So when you're doing that, you know that every week you have a return. So when you have a system like that, it gives you confidence to say no sometimes, so that you don't put yourself in trouble. The truth is, when a client begs you to do a work, oh my brother, I don't have money, give me discount. The fact is, when it goes bad, these same people will not remember when they were begging you. That's just the truth. They won't remember that. Nobody will care. The fact is that you've collected the money. So as long as you know you're good in your craft and you know what you're doing, you need to have integrity, stand your ground. And if you know this thing will give you a good job, do it. If you know it's going to be bad, don't put yourself in trouble or problem. So this is to most fabricators, because we've had situations where we have to bail some people out. More like we have to beg some people to free some people, because of this same situation. So I think that's what I would say. Integrity is important. You have a long way to go. Build a name. You will make money later. You will make money in the process, but you need to build a name. A name is what's more better than, you want to make quick money and all of that. You have to go through the process. We went through the pain. We're still going through the pain. You understand? And we keep pushing hard. That's just it. We don't give up in the process. You understand? So, but please, the second question.
So the second question is, looking ahead, how do you
Okay.
envision that the role of art and creativity alongside fabrication is going to evolve within the agricultural sector, especially when it comes to like solving food insecurity challenge?
Okay. We believe it will keep advancing, and the only thing is fabricators should learn more. We need to educate ourselves. We need to go for more training. That's the thing. Some people are advanced than us. That's just reality. Learn from them. There are people who are actually better than I do. They're better than me. The truth is, if you cannot go to them, maybe secretly, learn from them. Just learn. The internet has made it easy. You could go online, you go to YouTube. There are online courses you can also take. You can go through visuals, look at some videos, do what I call visual study. Visual study is more like you go through some videos, look at their process and understand them, then try to replicate. So you need to learn, you need to take risk, explore. You will spend money during the process, but it's for your own good. Go for training. Last year, I ensured that all my staff, everybody, enrolled for HSC, and we had HSC 1, 2, 3 for everybody. It was important because safety is important. When you are making all the money, remember that one day you will retire. Imagine in the process of fabricating, you lose one of your eyes. I've actually had an operation in my left eye 2 times, and I know how it feels. But we didn't stop. We kept doing it. So we need to learn more. We enrolled for this training because we know it's important. It's an investment you can do for yourself. And it's one thing we see most fabricators. Most fabricators, they don't pay attention to safety. They don't pay attention to safety, which is very, very risky. So we need to learn more. If it's something that will go as far as reaching out to the Western world in order for we to advance, we are going to do it. Because the fact is that, like I said, population is increasing. We need to think of the fastest means to advance, and that will be affordable. That's the thing. When we are putting up the cost for this thing, let it be pocket friendly. And maybe not pocket friendly for now, though, but let it be affordable for farmers to say, yes, this thing is advanced. I can manage a small space with this technology. I would produce a ton in less than so time. We can do that, but we need to learn. We need to look at those countries, look at Netherlands, look at Germany, look at China, look at countries, look at the way they are doing theirs. Let's look at how they are doing it, learn from them, and we explore. And you see that will make our environment a better place, would contribute and improve the standard of living, and even fabricators have dignity in what they do. We'll be proud to call ourselves fabricators and also call ourselves a farmer. You know. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. I know I said that was the last question, but in just hearing you talk, this is now the final question, which is
Okay.
you talked about there's a role for learning and there's also the role that mentorship sort of plays out. And earlier in this conversation, you had mentioned that so far you have done like 50, you're trained like 50 people for free in terms of fabrication. So the question is in two folds. Do you do mentorship for people, like for fabricators? Do you have like a special training or aside your team? I mean, people, something that an external fabricator can sign up for. Do you have that? Then the next question is your trainings that you do, are they location specific? Like the person has to be within your city or they are done online? Like I just need a bit of more details so that anyone on
Okay.
this call that is sort of interested in taking advantage of either your mentorship or your free trainings, how can they assess that?
Okay. For the mentorship, for now, let me say we've not started. Why I said so is that we are going to introduce a mentorship platform for not just fabricators, for craftsmen, for those in the technical field. When it comes to not just fabrication, including carpentry, including fashion designer, we want to have a platform where for those who are craftsmen, we can support ourselves. It's a support system. Okay. So, but it's actually not in our plan for 2025, but it's in our plan for 2026. But we are going to publicize that. We're going to, create awareness for that. So, but when it comes to the training, the free training, we have a policy around that training. For you to be a benefactor, you need to come through the AIA program for now. It's just for now because I've actually had calls from different people. Uh, why we are doing the free thing? It's more like in my journey, I had this opportunity where I did apprenticeship. I actually did apprenticeship in sculpture. Okay, before moving to Ahmadu Bello University, and on a norm, when you go to do apprenticeship, there is a process. I had my in Anambra State, in car. So you get paid this and do some other things. But I had a boss, I had a mentor who actually accommodated me as his own. He gave me this free platform, and he gave me a this platform where I could express myself. So, going through that same system, I believe one of the price you should pay is your commitment to work. You understand? I believe that should be one of the price they should pay. Along the line, you will be responsible for some of your growth system. You will be responsible for that. So, but for now, we can only accommodate those who come through the AIA program. And the AIA program has a policy. There's this age bracket, and there is the gender balance as well. It's either you're between 18 years to 29 years for the male, or you are 18 years to, let's say, 30 to 33 years for the female. So we also have female fabricators. At the Soilers Farm Lab, when you look at the gender, we have about 80% female, then 20% male. So that's why we also have female fabricators amongst us. You understand? So when you come through the AIA program, you would have that opportunity to benefit from the free training, where we would also enlighten you more on the basics and also the advanced fabrication. And this is not just the theoretical session. You'll be engaged to work. That's what we do. That's what we understand. You're engaged to work. And we can proudly say we have fabricators we would comfortably send to a site and they deliver. And these are people, when they came for air, they don't even know how to touch the welding machine. They don't even know how to use the cutting grinder, the grinding, and the small grinder or either the big grinder. But when they came, we had to go through the process from the scratch, and they learned how to do this thing. Understanding technical drawings as well is also part of what they do. So this is just our take home. I would also want to say kudos to those who are out there struggling in the system. The fact is, as long as you have value, as long as you have value, there are opportunities everywhere. The fact is that if opportunities are everywhere and you don't have value, nobody sees you. So build value, build credibility, and you'll see that opportunities will keep showing up and you keep embracing them. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Osita Anthony.
Thank
I
you, ma'am.
almost said this is my last question, but this is it. For anybody that is listening to us today that wants to connect with you, in terms of like the work that you do, your company to, maybe help them structure out like the fabrication for their greenhouse and things like that,
Okay.
how can they connect with your company to render that service for them? So that anybody that's on the call that will listen to the replay, they can always connect. So how can they do that?
Okay. I'll drop our contacts. You can reach out to us via our official website. We have our official website, which is metalliccarefoundation.com.ng. You can reach out to us via our WhatsApp, official WhatsApp number, which is 09038 543 500. You can still reach out to us via our Instagram handle, which is Metallic Care Foundation. That's the Instagram handle. Same thing too for our Facebook. You can reach out to us through there. Then you want to send us a mail, it's mit.technology.ng@gmail.com. So you can call on us at any point in time and we'll be ready to serve you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Osita. No more questions again. No more final ones. That was just the last one to wrap up the session. It's been quite an interesting and enlightening session with you today. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for the generosity of your time. Thank you so much for
Thank,
sharing your expertise with us and the audience today. I am very appreciative of the work that you do. And like I said, the work that you do is highly commendable. It is beautiful. And I look forward to seeing the amazing things that is laid out, that your company has planned out, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa itself. I am totally blown away. And I'm happy to just see that you have successfully been able to bring like a fusion between art, sculpture, and agriculture. It's just a beautiful thing to see.
yes.
Thank you for the amazing work that you and your team are doing with your
Mhm.
organization. Thank you for
Thank,
being like an inspiration, and I would say like a beacon of hope to the average youth. Because someone listening today will see that if Osita can do this, definitely I can
yeah,
do this. Like
you can
if
do,
he can sort of take
oh,
his
you can do it.
artistry skills and make
Yeah.
impact with it in agriculture, then I can definitely do something with myself. So thank you very much for just being an
Thank
inspiration
you.
and a beacon of hope to the average Nigerian youth and to the African youth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much and God bless you all. Thank you. Okay.
Fantastic.